Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It seems that no matter what media that leads us to a place of escapism, we always have some real-world elements bleeding into works of fiction for good and for bad. Honkaistarrail is facing a potentially disastrous shift in its development cycle due to recent real-life events that will undoubtedly affect our experience for the next planet. But before we get into the why, let's explain the what. honkaistarrail is a gacha game that usually have a new planet they focus on for a year and revisiting some older planets after an arc. In 3.7, the Amphorius arc officially ends after being the prime story content for nearly a year. We will be revisiting Penacony again in 3.8. However, there was another planet mentioned a handful of times in 3.7, benzaitengoku. Through many of the game's hints, benzaitengoku is a hyper-futuristic planet with social media themes as shown in the planar set. This coincides with a post-quest cutscene with Sparkle, a character who is very blatantly Japanese, teasing that she will have very heavy involvement in the next planet. It was mentioned another time by the IPC News Network after you finished Amphorius, declaring benzaitengoku as a world that originally was formed out of a painting, which again fits the Japanese theming. There were also older references in Simulated Universe with yokai, and with many references it has to Japanese culture. With ties to elation due to Sparkle and the theming of the planet being based off paintings and social media, benzaitengoku was looking to be another futuristic Japanese planet that Hoyo is known to go balls to the walls for in terms of its lore, presentation, and character design. Hoyo is very unapologetically diligent in how much they obsess over the birthplace of anime. After all, that was their motto. benzaitengoku was the only planet that we haven't visited that was referenced so many times in a very recent manner. And with how much teasing they put into it in 3.7, it would be odd if it wasn't the next planet. So many players are now anxiously waiting for whatever 4.0 and benzaitengoku holds, until something happened. On November 2025, there was criticism from the Japanese Prime Minister of China's actions against Taiwan. This would lead to Japan's government acting in self-defense as they deemed it an existential crisis situation. This led to a much stronger response from a Chinese consul general, and now both countries are in a diplomatic crisis. As an addendum, I'm not from either country, and the situation is literally as complex and as old as Japan's existence. I will not be commenting further because it feels disingenuous to do so when I'm not paying the price for whatever statements I will make. What is undeniable is that Hoyoverse has a strong grip on the Chinese market and vice versa. Due to the ongoing political tension and the history they have with the government, they must be very careful on how to approach their projects involving Japanese culture. It might be seen as taking a side and losing whatever good graces they have with the Chinese government. And so, numerous leaks have now come in with various degrees of reliability on what will happen to the development cycle of honkaistarrail. I will only mention information that comes from reliable leakers that have very clean track records of getting things right, or data miners that have cold-cut evidence. The first reliable piece of information came from HomeDigiCat, a data miner of beta information in HSR. They tracked a change in the beta where there was a reference to benzaitengoku in a divergent universe occurrence that was changed into Lafcadio. It is said to be the planet where Idrilla fell. This sparked speculation on whether or not Lafcadio was going to be the next planet, and pivoting to the beauty, which is what Idrilla is instead of the elation as it was planned. This was shut down very quickly, saying 4.x will not visit Lafcadio via Anon Leaks, a reliable leaker in the community. There was also numerous references in the game already that were unchanged, so it seems like a very small coincidence. New information today by Anon Leaks has stated that 4.0 will be delayed by about 3 weeks. I do want to give a bit of context to this leaker that we are going to be talking about. Their name is Anon Leaks. Now, Anon Leaks is a very reliable leaker because they were able to tell the story of 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, and 3.7 months before release with amazing accuracy. It's actually almost 100%. So many in the community think that he's an insider, like someone that's actually part of the dev team that's giving information to the leakers. Now, here's the thing though. There's only one source of the banners being delayed. There's no news from HomeDigiCat that what the banners are going to be is going to be delayed, actually. There's no direct statement from him. There's also no direct statement from the Chinese government, as you would imagine. No direct statement from Hoyoverse because obviously, well, there's no other leakers that have corroborated this. This is basically only from one leaker that's very, very reliable, and they might just be shitposting and seeing who believes it. Now, because of that, treat this entire section with a grain of salt because they might be shit shitposting again, and they might just not be telling the truth. And again, it's not corroborated by anybody else, even though they're fairly accurate. It's like a 50-50 toss-up right now if it's real or not. We're gonna have to wait for official Hoyo statements. But this is a video about explaining the doom posting going on right now, and this is what generally people will believe. This caused another surge of speculation, the most reasonable approach being that they wanted to give a bit of waiting time for the tensions to resolve itself, or they might go full nuclear and overwork themselves to design a completely different planet for the extra 3 weeks if it wasn't going to cool off. Note that this information of a delay is from a reliable leaker, but there's still time for the tensions to resolve itself that this delay might be cancelled. If they are given no choice and have to take the 3 extra weeks, it's going to be a massive upheaval for the development cycle, as they essentially have to freeze the script for the planned benzaitengoku and have to use it later. Because Hoyoverse plans out their projects so far ahead, some English voice actors recorded their lines so long ago that they don't even remember recording it or the context of it until playing it on stream.
I don't know how long before, how do you pronounce it? Fremnet, right?
Fremine.
Yeah, so like I don't know how long you were recording for Fremnet before he, became playable. But like I was in the beta tests recording for that for like 2.5 years beforehand. So it's like
safe to say they plan things out way ahead in advance, that even English voice actors have access to preliminary footage. Because of this, promotional content like the Iron Tomb countdown similarly didn't get Japanese and English voices in time, since it was most likely too sudden to get foreign voice actors on the project. For a massive upheaval like this, they would need to arrange a new planet in 3 weeks' time over something they were building on for almost a year now. Ouch. This will lead to possible missing voices, lower quality models, and many other shortcuts that just don't have the magic of a year's worth of work and refinement. That is, of course, if the delay persists. However, another leak was shown that can explain why this might not exactly be the case. Anon leaks revealed shortly that 4.0 will be Yao Guang, an important Chinese character in-game, exactly on Chinese New Year on a Chinese nation. I just want to make it very clear, Edo Star or Benzaitengoku itself is not actually going to be removed from the game altogether. That's just so many resources lost. They might delay it until like 5.x or something for like the really worst case scenario, but there's no leakers that are saying, hey, it's completely cancelled. It's just going to be delayed. Now, there is a theory going around that this was always the plan. They were always going to delay 3 weeks to put Yao Guang in Phase 1, which is exactly the Chinese New Year date. Now, I don't think that's true because there's a much better way to do that. Like, you could you could just not have the delay and have Phase 1 be the Edo Star character or Benzaitengoku character, and have the second phase be the new Chinese general and just delay it by like, I don't know, just 1 week. Now, that would be a lot better, but they didn't do that. So I don't really understand the theory that this was the plan all along. I feel like there was some sort of effect from the Chinese and Japanese tension going on right now. I just want to mention this because I just got reminded of it after I recorded this video, so sorry if my sound quality sounds off when I'm mentioning this. But when Fei Xiao released around September, her banner was delayed by just like 1 day. And that was so odd because there was seemingly no reason for it. They never actually gave a reason. Still to this day, we still don't know what happened. But Fei Xiao was supposed to release on September 11, 2024, and her banner was named Airstrike General. Now, the meme became that, well, maybe this was a bit insensitive, and people came to the conclusion that they probably delayed it because it was way too coincidental, and that might be putting them in a bit of trouble, but we still don't really have confirmation for that. Going to say this right now, I probably don't think that was the reason. It probably was just a very coincidental delay. You can think of it whatever you like, but that's just something that I remember. Nevertheless, honkaistarrail is only a minor occurrence of the real-world political tensions between China and Japan. It's important to approach the issue that spurred it on with sensitivity. This video is only meant to explain what the effects of it are in a gacha game, and there are much more important effects elsewhere that I am unsuited to give the information for. So please make your own research on the topic and don't listen to a D-list YouTuber talking about politics. That's like really bad for your brain. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. This is a little bit more serious than my recent videos, and I'm sorry if this was a little bit uncomfortable, but I hope to see you guys later, and I hope you learned some new information about this and why exactly Twitter is in such a frenzy right now. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a